all the answers to the problems of the world we face today. Oh, how many can face tomorrow? What miracle can bring back yesterday? Politicians shaking hands and smiling. I hope they really know what they're doing. Cause ambitions keep on rising every day. While children in the streets keep on dying when they should be singing. Alafia, Alafia,
It's Moji Solar Percy. How are you? Well,
can you say something I can just click on?
well, I'm trying at the moment, so let me do that right now. All right, I'm going to try to click on. I'm sending you an invitation in a minute, and then you tell me if you have it. I'm sending you a request to be brought in. Add to your. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying. Are you watching me now, Shina?
Yeah, I was watching it for a second, but I'm going back to you now. Yeah.
Well, I only see one person on here, and you know, Dotun, somebody's on, but I don't see you on yet. This is so exciting.
I can see you.
Well, you're not showing up. You're not. I'm sorry, but you're not showing up on my thing at the moment. You're not showing up on my screen at all. I see.
Okay,
oh, now I see you.
you.
Now I see you, but it's not letting me add him.
Okay, so let's go.
It's not letting me add you.
Let's go audio.
All right, so we're just gonna go audio if that's okay with you.
Can you see me now?
I can see you on. That's fine. So just stay on. But I can't seem to bring you on for some reason. How many accounts do you have? Are you coming on the screen on the account that we're friends on, Shino? Okay, tell him not to watch. You guys hang tight. We're gonna do this. You know, in Moji's world, the winch is always dry. It's Moji Solar Percy after all, you know? So, some things always happen. He needs to get off the screen so we can talk on the phone. Well, I cannot bring you in. I don't know. The winch is no hungry. Oh, my people, start praying. You know, Nigeria, we have to pray now. Tell him to stop watching at this point because the echo. I see him right here, but I can't bring him in.
Yeah, we'll just go audio on this one.
We're just going to go audio, guys.
Facebook Live. So
Tell him to come off Facebook Live.
stay on the phone.
And we'll just call him on the phone. And we'll just talk on the phone.
Just come on Facebook Live and then we'll go. Just stay on this line with me.
Okay? For you guys out there that are watching, what I tried to do was bring Shino in. Today, you guys know I've been screaming murder. It's Moji Solar Percy. It's Moji's world, and you know things happen. And what do? We roll with the punches. So no fret, no fear. I actually did a lot of homework, and I'm ready for this show. So get ready. It's Moji's world, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as you all know, I speak power into truth with a very unique voice. This is definitely not CNN, so we're going to have a great time, right? So today I have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Sina Fagbenro Byron. Yep. But Shina, welcome to Moji's world. Can you guys hear him out there fine? Say that again, please.
Sorry, yes, I can hear you.
Now perfect. So Shina is on the phone. It might be a few seconds of delay because we could not bring him into the show. It happens all the time. Well, you know, Nigeria now. When something fantabulous is about to happen, guess what happens? The winches start doing their and then we have to do what? We have to go into prayer mode, And we have to follow it with actions, because prayers without actions is zero. So welcome to Moji's World, like I said earlier. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you very much. The enemies have done their worst.
Yes, they have. Oh, the enemies are trying real hard today. I don't tire. But,
Yes, they've done their worst.
The other day, Margaret and I were talking to you, and we asked out of the blues if you would mind coming on the show, and you said yes. I was like, he really will. But so I'm very excited to have you on here. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yes.
All right. So I know who you are. Can you guys, if you guys can hear Shino, can you please give me a thumbs up? If you can hear Shino, can you give me a thumbs up? They're saying not very clearly.
I can see Hall, I can see TJ James, I can see Chevrolet OK, I can see Potter's Praise, I can see TJ James. Thank you.
Oh, Dr. says they can hear you. So everybody knows Moji likes to talk a lot. In this one, Moji is going to be very quiet so you guys can hear Shino clearly. Thank you. All right. So, Dr. Sina Fagbenro Byron. Some call you Shino. Others call you, others call you Byron. But you call yourself SFB. And some of us are lucky enough to call you Byron. Look, Moji has 3 personalities. There's Moji, there's Mojikwa, who's the one that gets upset with people and cuts them. And then there's Anike, the nice sweet one that wants to save the world. So is this like a triple personality thing like mine, or is this just like, how did the 3 names come about?
Well, interesting. Sina Fagbenro Byron is it's history. It's an entire story, And I think your name, I'm a Yoruba man, and Yoruba people, you see, the entire what they are, the kind of names they bear. Every single component of my name has a meaning. Shina means open the door, right? Fagbenro means for the owner of the earth, my own interpretation.
Right.
And Byron means shepherd.
Right.
Byron is an old English meaning for shepherd. And I think at some point, your name speaks to you in terms of how people see you and what they feel from you.
Right.
So what I bear is what resonates. And the abbreviation is SSB.
Wow. Well, I personally, I have this thing about names, because I believe that the Yoruba culture, if not all Nigerian culture, has a very important meaning in a person's life. And as they say your name, they're actually saying prayers, like Mojisola means born into wealth. I'm still waiting for the dollars to show up, but you get the point. So, one of the things I was very excited about when I found out you were running is that I did some homework on you and such. And when we spoke the other day, you told us about you are the co-founder and chairman of Victoria Modupe OK Foundation. Can you possibly...
OK Foundation, yes.
Right. Can you possibly tell us a little bit about that? Because the name Victoria Modupe OK, we would like to know how you came about the name and why you chose that route.
Okay. Victoria Modupe OK is my mother. My mother was a single mother that sort of brought up several children, including her own brothers and sisters. She was the firstborn of her father, and she had about 26 younger brothers and sisters. But she was the only one that had qualified and graduated when her father died. And that sort of gave her the responsibility. A woman in the 1950s, 1960 to be precise, 60, to be responsible for the development, the education of about 25 siblings. And she did that, and that worked. And quite frankly, she's been seen as the head of the family. But more than that, and more than the fact that she's my mother, she's done well. She used to be the vice chairman of the National Council of Women Societies, right?
Wow.
She also used to be, she was the first female president of the University Teaching Hospital Staff and Senior Staff Association in 1975. And then prior to that, quite frankly, because my mom is very beautiful, she was the very first Miss Western Region.
Whoa.
1956. As a matter of fact, her successor became the first Miss Nigeria. Now, this is the life and story of a woman who has been shouldered with the responsibility. She was beautiful. She went through the stresses of a young, beautiful woman.
Right.
She brought up a child, and the child happens to be me.
Wow.
And she came out in life successful, and I can't even claim, I happen to be, biologically, I happen to be an only child. But truth be told, that I can't even claim to be her only child because she brought up so many people. Now, the only way I know she did so many things even after retiring from UCH and after retiring. I mean, she worked in Saudi Arabia. She worked in the 1980s as a radiographer in Saudi Arabia, especially during the Gulf War. And she was a liaison officer for Nigerians during the Gulf War. And, these are the kind of Nigerians that have done things that, the press, the public may not know much about. So I thought that, look, what she's done particularly was to look at gender equality.
Bosa, I love that.
She has been able to demonstrate that given the resources and given the opportunity, right, that women can do great things. She also was able to demonstrate that even without being given the opportunity, that you can seize the opportunity yourself. She's also been able to demonstrate that, look, it doesn't have anything to do with bringing up children, right? Well, I mean, my mom and dad were separated when I was 3 years old.
Right,
but,
right.
Quite understandably, because, I know both my parents, I love them so dearly, and I knew that they were, at some point in time they were a couple. But my mom is a woman that has a vision and which doesn't get deterred by, and my father too, fantastic guy, but at times when, the dynamite is swinging in the couple, it has to be running through. But having said that, I know that she's a woman who's brought beauty to this earth, who does things. And so we set up this foundation to support young girls,
right,
especially the poor, the disenfranchised, to be able to get some skills and to get the right attitude.
Wonderful.
To be able to overcome the marginalization that they are most likely to feel. But it's a true thing. It's a livelihood thing. You want to ensure they have access to finance and access to a livelihood.
Right.
And you want to make sure that, it's not just that you have skills, you can fly the best builder in town. You may fly the best builder in town and still remain in your 2x4 room. And you could otherwise fly the best builder in town, or even just be able to fly the room and become the next best thing to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
So it's about skills and entrepreneur and getting them the ones that need an education. So that's what VMO Foundation does, really.
Wow.
And we've been running it now for about 3 years. We've had programs consistently in Ibadan in collaboration with the Nigeria, with the Women Improvement Council, Oyo State. And we also have a relationship with the Makoko women, in at the waterfront area.
Right.
So we do that alternatively each year for that. Yeah.
Well, is it fair to say that you are a feminist and you believe in gender equality?
Hello.
Is it fair? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Shina.
Hello, I can't hear you yet.
Well, we can hear you. Can you hear me now? This is the problem, part of the problem with Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Shino, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Okay, I was
Well,
asking.
I not told you.
Right, I know
Yeah.
it happens. This is Nigeria we're dealing with, you know. But is it
Yeah.
fair to ask you? This is part of the reasons why we need somebody that's going to come in and really make a change in our system in Nigeria. Is it fair to say that
Yeah.
you are a feminist and you believe in gender equality?
Well, definitely. There's the first place. First of all, I believe in gender equality. I mean, that's without a doubt. I believe in gender equality. The feminists, right? Like I was telling a friend the other day, the initial thought, it depends on what you determine to be feminism. I think if feminism includes and understands and is appreciative of gender equality, right?
That is totally what I believe feminism is. Feminism is not trying to be a man or pushing men aside. It's about believing and walking in truth to the fact that gender equality is the way to go all over the world. It's human rights.
I absolutely. But you see, the fear is in the nomenclature. For example, if someone came up with the term masculinism, how would that impact?
I
think the point was that when feminism got started initially, it was sort of a response to an exclusive and extreme male chauvinistic environment, right? And it was sort of a rebound. Now that we passed the stage of rebound and reactivity, right? And we want to be responsive, and we want to know that we're actually partners,
right?
Not competitors.
Exactly.
Right? Then we have to language and nomenclature and meaning have to be taken with a bit more understanding. So for me, look, I think the critical question is that do you believe in equality between men and women?
Bingo.
Yes, between this I say absolutely, yes, because the fundamental thing is that we're humans and the human right is basic. And even beyond humanity and the physical, if you go spiritual, there are no sexes in the spirit.
That's very true. That's totally what I believe in as well. Totally what I believe in. But I wanted to ask you this question. I wanted more people to come on, and I'm going to ask all the audience to please share the video. Because one of the reasons why we're doing this in Moji's world is because a lot of you guys don't get to hear from other people. There's only a certain number of people that are always on the social media and such. So please share the video, call your friends and tell them to watch. If they have questions, have them type it in there, and we'll try as much as possible to get Byron to answer the questions. So Byron, would you be kind enough to give us a short bio of you, of what you've done in the past, why you think or why you believe that you can run Nigeria?
Okay. Well, quite frankly, I think I was born for the job, in the sense that, I was born at the right time. I went to the very best schools, the right schools at the right time. Whether the secondary schools, universities. I was trained in the right environment. At the peak of each, I followed growing up, followed every spike and every trough that can be associated with what is called Nigeria. Over the past 25 years, I've worked in governance at a very high level, and at the state and, both state level and federal government level. I have a vision. I have a vision for what Nigeria ought to be and what it should be. I have worked closely. I have worked also in government. Although when I worked in government, I wasn't working in Nigerian government. I was working in British government. So, but having said that, in terms of how government works and how it should work, I have the understanding of it in both international terms and in both local terms in terms of what Nigeria does. Now, the question is this. What would happen if those who have this experience and capacity don't, they say, a society, slides into perdition, not because of bad people, but because those who know and have the capacity don't do anything about it. So that's one thing. That talks to motivation. In terms of why I think I will succeed, it's because I think that, quite frankly, it's a question of qualification, and it's also the question of love. I do love Nigeria. I've had the opportunity. I've had the time. I live in this country. I have a vision for the country, and I think that it's not just Nigeria about Nigeria for what it stands for, but it's also the people as well. So with all sense of modesty, but confidence.
Right.
And I don't want people to misunderstand my confidence or immodesty. But the truth of the matter is that, I was born for this job. I was trained for this job. I've had the experience for this job, and it's time to have the job. There's really time for Nigeria now because we've left things rather too late, and other people have had opportunity to draw us away from the brink.
Right.
But the longer we wait, the longer we look at things in terms of the security, the future, and what Nigeria stands for, sustainable development, existence. We know that we do have a serious challenge, and action has to be taken right now.
Very true. One of the things that I like about your vision is the fact that it's very inclusive. It's inclusive of elders. It's inclusive of young people. You're saying that age is not, it should not even matter. It's whoever comes to the table with the proper information. With the proper ideas that's going to work for our people, all people, not just Yorubas or Hausas or Igbos, but a whole Nigeria as a country. Now, Shina, see, everybody then in Moji's world, we like cars. So if Nigeria was a car, what would you say needs to be fixed? As in, when you take Nigeria as a whole, what would be the top 5 things that you would like to fix?
To be fixed. Well, in the first place, if it's a car, you need to fix the driver. You need to get another driver.
Can I put you on pause for 1 second, in case you guys missed that? He said if Nigeria was a car, that Nigeria would need a good driver, which basically means you need a good head, if that makes sense. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And, because you need somebody who's alert, who's got a sense of urgency, who's got, And then the second thing you need to change is the navigator. I think the directionals in the car. When you're going north, you want to make sure you're going north. When you're going to a particular place, you don't want to make sure you're rolling. So that's the second thing you want to change. You want to change the navigator, right? The third thing that you would want to change is you will have distraction within the car.
Exactly.
That is the passengers that you are conveying. Now, for the passengers, it is better you have, when you have a van and you're going on a road trip and you get a whole bus and it's a 50-footer bus or 50 and you can take about 50 people to 75 people. It's one thing, if everybody in the bus is fighting. It's another thing if everybody in the bus is singing or you have different people doing different things in an organized fashion. So I think, for Nigeria, some things that have not been managed well is the management of Nigeria's diversity and the management of Nigeria's mass. So I would think that it's necessary to engage with the people who are also in the vehicle, right? In a manner that we have to have an engagement, we have to have a dialogue, we have to have a discussion on where we're going, what we need to do. And of course, sustenance. You want to make sure that there's maintenance of the vehicle and maintenance of the passengers of the vehicle. So that's it. The driver, the direction, the sustenance,
May I ask you,
the atmosphere.
Right. May I possibly ask you, Shina, why do you think corruption continues to plague Nigeria like this? Because it doesn't make sense. A lot of us have been outside the country.
Well, yes. Because you see, corruption itself is a manifestation of a set of circumstances. It's a manifestation of an institutional environment that makes it people to, be more, you're more flexible with rules. The definition of things like conflict of interest is very loose and very wide. And also the risks that people will take to be able to live up to the system. I mean, anybody will tell you that Nigeria has a very, our politics is the politics of patronage. People get into power, into office, and, it's a question of sharing largesse and living off the fat of the land. There's little to create. So there's an entire, cultural and institutional framework for corruption. There's also a reason why corruption, continues in the sense of the institutional weaknesses that we have: poor financial management systems, poor reporting mechanisms. There's a lot of loopholes and stuff. But having said that, in your fight against corruption, you must be able to understand that it's better to fight the cause rather than the consequences.
Right.
Now, individuals that turn out to be corrupt are the consequences of corruption. And if you pursue or you expend so much energy on the institutions or on the people that turn out to be corrupt, then you probably will be fighting the fruit rather than the root. And you cannot kill a plant if you don't fight the roots.
Exactly.
I can't go on continuously burying the fruits and expect that, as long as I bury the fruits of this tree, nobody will eat its benefits. That's not true. It's not going to happen. The more you benefit the fruits, you're benefiting the tree.
Right.
So you're burying trees. So the point is that you have to look at this thing rather institutionally. Unfortunately, in Nigeria today, corruption is beyond just corruption. It's now organized crime. And because that the perpetration of corruption has grown its roots very, very deep, and they have networked across the sectors, right? And across the actors. So, but I think that understanding how and why it all started, you cannot fight corruption without engaging with the civil service. The civil service, and I'm not saying that they're a cause of corruption, but I'm saying that at some point the civil service has a bigger role to play in whether corruption actually manifests as the exception or rather than the rule. So you have to engage the civil servants too in understanding, but to engage the civil servants, you have to understand the history of corruption and why it came about that way. But the primary thing is that two things in terms of corruption. One is that impunity. Impunity breeds corruption.
Definitely.
And then the second thing is that if you over-centralize administration, if you over-centralize control, if you over-centralize management, you are likely to fall into the trap which says that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because the over-centralization of administration and management and control gravitates power to a center. And that is why in Nigeria, when everybody wants something, they have to come to Abuja.
Right.
And because you have to come to Abuja, and you have 1 or 2 people signing off on what you need. And when one single individual knows that he has to sign off on 3,000 documents,
wow,
and he knows that everybody needs those documents.
Right.
Meanwhile, he's broke and his daughter's getting married, and he needs a couple of million to do the wedding.
Of course.
Because everybody knows it.
So,
of course, initially he would be benevolently tempted to just take a few presents.
Right.
But it goes from one thing to another. So we need to decentralize quite a bit of our power.
So basically, you're saying that they need to create smaller governments to govern the bigger ones. Basically, is what you're saying. The same way the rest of the world does.
Yeah, you need to, I'll tell you, so in the Constitution of Nigeria, you have two lists. You have the exclusive list and you have the concurrent list.
Right.
The exclusive list is what the federal government has the powers to do, to make laws upon,
Right.
to control in terms of financials. Now, the concurrent list is what both the federal government and the state and the local government have powers to do. Now, what has happened over the years and in the military is that the exclusive list, that is, the things that the federal government have the powers to do, has grown so
Right.
large. And so it's like powers have been accumulated to the center. And what the powers that the states and the local government have, it's low, and it's not very significant. But added upon that is the fact that the state governors are now so independent. You don't have any state constitutions
Right.
in Nigeria. So there's nothing to directly hold the state governors accountable to. So when the federal government has emancipated the states from control and power,
Right.
the powers that have been given to the states,
Right.
right? The states themselves there's no guarantee that that remaining residual power will get to the people, because there's nothing that holds the governor accountable to the people by way of a state constitution.
Exactly.
And that is how you have poverty. That's how you have poverty perpetrated. And those are the areas you need to restructure Nigeria.
Right.
To make sure that the state governors are a bit more responsible for the welfare of the people.
But by the way, not to cut you off, I beg your pardon, but this is very important now that you're talking about the state government taking responsibility, being accountable. I have to just say, while doing research, we found out that a report by the World Poverty Clock, dated June 2018, shows that Nigeria has overtaken India as the country with the most extreme poverty in the world. How do you, Shino, plan to fix this?
You see, the point is this. I think with Mr. Turn, the only way that you can deal with this is that you have to measure performance. Since this government took over, it needed to have been measuring its own performance. It needed to have been measuring its performance in terms of meeting the sustainable development goals,
right.
meeting the poverty targets, meeting the equality targets, meeting the girl education targets, meeting the targets in terms of the environment,
right.
meeting targets in terms of peace and justice. You know, a government gets into power and drafts a measurement framework because it's said that what you can't measure, you cannot manage.
Exactly.
So, because they have not been able to measure that, so they've been carried away with politics, they've been carried away with rhetoric, and so they have not known that they themselves have surpassed India.
Isn't that scary, though?
From the outset, pardon?
I said, isn't that very scary? Because India, for all time, has held the world record on poverty.
That is precisely why there is a sense of urgency. Unfortunately, this government doesn't have any sense of urgency at all, because the president doesn't even appreciate. He does not appreciate that there is cause for concern.
Exactly.
He's a bit leisured in how he takes things.
Right.
Right? And that is not helping anyone. And then to make matters very bad is that the government itself is not coordinated. You know, in the first place, decisions aren't taken as and when due, at the times they should be taken on issues, because the president himself is limited in capacity and does not have a sense of urgency. The second thing is that they're not very coordinated. You have policy contradictions in this government that will blow your mind off if you sit them down and look and analyze them. Agri policies is in conflict with industrial policy.
Right.
Trade policy is in conflict with security policy. And even within a sector, there are intra-sectoral policy conflicts.
Yeah.
Now, when you have that kind of thing, they have a village. Then the third thing they fail is that they're not even communicating with the people.
At all. The exclusion of the people in government.
It is.
It's a crime to human rights, especially when you talk about running a democratic system. It makes no sense.
Well, you have to be inclusive in the first place.
Exactly.
You have to be inclusive, and they never, started out with either the intention or the capacity to be inclusive. And we thought initially that the president made a faux pas when he said that 5% of the people didn't vote for him. Some people didn't vote for him, and so he couldn't, give it. We thought it was a faux pas.
Right.
But it's now turned out to be a state policy. It is a state policy.
Right.
And that kind of state policy cannot, you cannot have inclusive governance. Now, apart from that, the government itself is divided. And the truth is told is this, I think, we've fallen into the trap of leaders having a messianic complex.
Now, listen, at the end of the day, isn't it all about human rights, really? Isn't it human rights that we're really talking about? Because if human rights are respected in Nigeria, a lot of the things that the government gets away with, they will not be able to get away with it.
It is all about human rights. It's all about human rights. It is all about the value of I'll tell you one thing. Even beyond human rights, before you get to the argument of human rights, you have to discuss the value for life.
Right. The value for life is number one, because you'll see how people like...
Yes, it's value for life. Any living, breathing life. Value for life. And it is on the basis of value for life that the paradigm of human rights was came to being. Because value for life is principle, then human rights. And then when you have human rights, you have to appreciate and understand managing diversity.
So you already know that there is no... Go ahead, finish your train of thought.
Yeah, so you know that there is diversity. And the whole idea is that you need to manage, for you to be able to be responsive to the management of human rights and to the delivery of human rights, right, is that you must appreciate there's diversity. Does
diversity, you already know you can't come to Moji's world. Even when I talk about water, I talk about LGBTQ issues. Does diversity include LGBTQ people of Nigeria?
You see, I'll tell you something. There has always been diversity, right? Right now, the issue of LGBT rights and LGBT persons has come to the fore because probably the time is right for people to face you face yourself, you face your fears, and you face the reality of other people as well, and so of course that comes to the fore too, because the principal thing about anyone, whether you're gay, straight, LGBT, whatever your physical or physiological framework might throw up, you're first and foremost a human being. And human rights is so principal and fundamental. So everyone has to be protected in terms of their human rights.
Thank you.
And which means that look, my inclination, right, as long as it does not, as long as it is not, as a matter of fact, you cannot criminalize me because of my inclination.
I hear you. That's exactly what we all believe. That's what human rights is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think where people, okay, go on. Yeah,
you go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was throwing up something from your thoughts, but please ask your question.
As we speak, tens of thousands of children have died in hospitals in Nigeria. As of this morning, I was sent a video, which I forgot to send to you, of a doctor that was shot outside the hospital, or outside after she left work. She was a doctor in Nigeria. She was she ran into the place. Her friends threw her in the car and drove her to a hospital, right? When she got to the hospital, The doctors would not treat her until she paid 50,000 naira. The woman was bleeding to death.
Yeah.
So they ran around, make
Yeah.
phone calls and all that stuff, trying to raise the money because, again, if you
Yeah.
don't have money in Nigeria, if you're a poor person, you are not protected.
Yeah.
Human rights. How
Yeah.
would you...
Yeah.
The woman, by the way, died. A medical
Yeah.
doctor died because the medical
Yeah.
system of Nigeria once again fails
Failed.
people.
Failed.
How
Yeah.
would you approach
Yeah.
the healthcare reform in Nigeria?
Yes. Well, everything is about implementation. Recently, there's been a National Health, Health Act that's been drafted, and in the National Health Act, it's supposed to prevent things like this from happening. I mean, but specifically, we have to go pursue the health insurance mechanism, the framework,
Right.
the ease of implementation. There is a very large, everything you hear about Nigeria that doesn't work. There is an issue, there's a trust issue at the background of it, a trust issue.
Exactly.
People being very fidelity to agreements and understanding, both financial agreements and agreements in terms of commitment and what the things should be. So basically, for me, there's a health act that needs to be implemented very well. And I think at the core of any implementation has to be the monitoring and evaluation of the implementation itself.
Right.
And holding to responsible which organizational framework should. So there's a health insurance, there's a health act that says, for example, when you go for, let's say, the emergencies, they should be treated as a matter of course. And, doctors. But one thing I need to, you see, the health delivery system in Nigeria is complex. There is a role that medical doctors and health service providers themselves need to play. In Nigeria, if you ask anyone how many people have succeeded in taking any medical liability case to court and winning, I doubt if there's any, well, maybe one or two in the history of Nigeria's health. So I think that we need a robust stakeholders understanding of how do we bring back, for me, because I know how things were in the 60s, I know that at a particular point in time, the health delivery system was seen as an entire system, not the exclusive responsibility of either doctors or nurses or whatever. It's an entire system. Medical records keepers are important. Engineering officers, maintenance officers, health facility engineering, logistics, all these things are important. But I think where we can start and we can give a significant blow for success is the primary health care system.
Right, but
yeah.
Shouldn't there be rules and regulations anyway? Shouldn't there be bylaws of what happens when a patient walks into the hospital? We already know that it's almost impossible for anyone that has no money to win a lawsuit in Nigeria. That is like...
Absolutely. It's a question of, you have all sorts of health service delivery providers. You have the private sector delivery providers. You have governments. You have, the missionaries, right? And you have the tertiary institutions, the universities. Now, it depends on their funding. Some people, the private sector have become a bit unsympathetic.
Yes.
The hypocritical oath, is issued, but the sentiments have been totally expunged. So on the private sector level, the private sector practitioner will tell you, and will have justification to tell you that he's not going to move an inch until he collects his payments.
Look,
in the hospital, it's a question of access to facility.
That's run by the government funds because, look, I have traveled the world.
Exactly.
I mean, you and I know someone that's going around changing the healthcare system of third world countries, and this person is getting awards all over the world. And to change the healthcare system in Nigeria shouldn't take more than 6 months, really, if we have cooperating parties. But it's almost impossible when all people see is the dollar sign because, by the way, I was in Nigeria, I went to UCH, and I saw how the doctors are living below poverty level.
Exactly.
I met doctors at UCH. They're doctors. And they couldn't buy gas in their cars. the homes that they awarded is worse than the boys' quarters in my father's house. I mean, it's scary.
I totally agree with you. We know what it was in the 70s and in the early 80s. But I'll tell you one thing. You know, I think where I have a problem with health service providers is that they need to appreciate that they have to come to the table as a health delivery system, not different components. When the doctors have their issues, they have their issues oblivious of the fact that the physiotherapists have their issues,
right?
And the radiographers have their issues, that the health medical, the non-academic staff have their issues.
Right.
So everybody comes to the table independently,
right,
and in a compartmentalized manner, right? So that when you solve the problems of doctors and they go back to the table, the nurses throw up their problems and say, look, okay, you solved the problems, but doctors, what about ours? So the whole idea is that nobody is taking a holistic view. And the only reason why nobody is taking a holistic view is that there hasn't been the kind of facilitation, the kind of bringing everybody to the table, convening. And this is where the government has made a mistake. This is where the government hasn't brought, because usually somebody from government already comes with a bias that, you're either on the side of the doctors or on the side of the non-academic staff, or you're on the side of, and then, you don't, I think that there's and this is where coordination in governance comes into play. You see, because every sector has a population of stakeholders, diversity of
right.
stakeholders, right? The health service delivery environment has a diversity of stakeholders, from the patients to the health service providers to the to those who facilitate the process, logistics, maintenance, engineering, things like that. Now we are getting into a situation whereby we're having a fourth industrial revolution, and people who own the data and have the data and can decide about the data are the ones that are going to be significantly in control. So, it's about us taking a step back.
Of course.
And looking at the whole thing. And what I intend to bring to the table is this broad-based understanding. It's a broad-based understanding. And of course, things have to be negotiated. We have to follow the data. We have to follow, like I said in the previous question, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Right.
Right? We're not measuring the performance of doctors. We're not going to measure the performance of nurses. We are measuring how many children die at birth, giving birth. We're going to measure how many children die under the age of 5. We're going to measure things like how many people are secondarily referred, and the whole raft of, we have to start managing ourselves based on actual facts and data.
I absolutely agree with you. But in saying all of that as well, when you talk about measuring how many children are dying and how many nurses we need for each, we need to really go back to the basics. Let's talk about security in Nigeria. A gentleman called Owen on the show wants to find, is basically, I'm not even going to read this question, I'm just going to give you a synopsis of it. Owen Johnson is asking what you will do about security and how do you combat the jungle justice system that we have in place in Nigeria?
I'll tell you something. Security and justice is very, very, very critical. As a matter of fact, if you go to my website on www.ssb2019.com, the first thing we have on our 5 pillars is security and safety. And I think security and justice should be predicated first on the rights of everyone.
Right.
Because you map out security, you see, security is only meaningful if it serves to protect fundamental human rights. So that means that every individual must be guaranteed security under the law. When you start off from that framework that every individual is guaranteed security under the law, then you make sure that security, operational, number one, you make sure that people are educated right and understand that, security is a right, and it's what holds the society together. People don't understand, a lot of people have thought that security is a question of the security of whoever is president or whoever is incumbent.
Absolutely not.
boys in town. And that's a failure. So the thing is the issue of security has to start with an orientation of not only security services, of what drives security itself. But now drilling down, right, I think the security framework in this country is under-resourced, and it is misapplied and misdesigned. I think we don't have enough policemen. I think our policemen are not orientated, in the right, direction. I think that, there's a lot of trust issues. The first line of security for a policeman himself are the people that are around him that are not policemen.
Exactly.
So that's where they give information.
Exactly.
But looking at just looking at the health service delivery, for example, there are some things you can draw from that to define the security service delivery system. And what I'm saying here is that it's a cycle. It's an entire cycle. Security starts with, there's the preventive aspect of security.
Very true.
And there's also the prosecutory aspect of security. And justice. And that's where the justice cycle comes in. Now, a lot of security breaches will not happen if people are guaranteed that they will get justice.
Right, exactly.
And yes, and we can go a long way in discussing that. We can go a long way in the entire social justice. And whether, if there is social justice, whether people will be prone to criminality or not. Because it is people that are prone to criminality that breach security of other people, right?
Exactly.
Because, it's one thing to say, yes, are you ready to attack any or confront any security breaches? And it's another thing that is as important to say that how are you prepared to prevent security breaches? And for us, the protection of human rights, the inclusion of people will do a long way in preventing human security breaches. Right, but having said that, there will always be the criminally minded.
Of course. Mr. John Adewoye wants to know, how do you want to build human rights awareness in Nigeria?
Okay, the first thing is this. Number one, if you go to my website and you go to my policy, number one, you have to build a zero tolerance. You have to make a benchmark. You have to create a benchmark. Yep. There are 180 million of us. China has close to 2 billion population. They've been able to manage that size of population because they have been able to create certain benchmarks and plumb lines. In the 1980s, we had a whole raft of internal revolution in China called the China Reconstruct.
That's right.
And I think this is the kind of thing we need to do in Nigeria. But our own revolution has to be an internally generated revolution by citizens. And it has to be driven by two things. A zero tolerance to illiteracy.
Yep.
And a zero tolerance to hunger. The zero tolerance to illiteracy is necessary because you want to communicate with people.
That's
and
right.
You want people to communicate with you. And you don't want to exclude anybody. So there must be something that is common to 180 million people. And the only thing you can design quickly that is common to 180 million people is something you can design that you start engaging with them from a very young age, and that is the education sector.
Right.
And that is how they become literate. Literate in what? Read, write, calculate, and perceive. So, you want a state whereby by the time a child is 11, 12, that child understands what the meaning of the national anthem is.
Very true.
You want that child, yes, you want that child to understand that other people have rights apart from himself.
Now, look, for me, one of the things that I preach is accountability, everybody, individual activism. So when I was on your Facebook page, I was scrolling through your Facebook page, not because I'm amiable, but because, I have to do my homework. I actually ran into a series of pictures that you had posted. And it was dated, I don't remember the year. Bottom line is that as I was looking through the photos on Facebook, I came across pictures of you and your late grandmother, right? And you credited her, right? With teaching you about inclusion. Tell us a little bit about that, because I have a lot to say about that. Because to me, inclusion starts from home. Teaching children about human rights starts from within our homes. We can no longer expect the government to do things for us. Please tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. You know, my grandmom, she died not too long ago in 2010. She died at the age of 102.
Whoa.
And she died just 2 weeks after my mother was 80. Oh,
wow.
Right? So I had a very fantastic relationship with her. And we had cause to, she literally, was my nanny and everything like that until I grew up and became my, just best friend kind of person. But one of the things I noticed about her is that she had friends, male, female, young, and old.
Exactly.
And she could communicate. It was a question of communication. Now, for you to appreciate what inclusion means, right, you should have to be able to talk to and listen to other people. So the issue for her, she used to do evangelism. And, have evangelism. We walk around the neighborhoods, town in those days, and, you do preaching. And I think that's where she got some skills. She developed skills of listening to other people.
Yeah.
And understanding that they're different from you.
Exactly.
So for me, that is what she. And then she herself was the first wife of her husband. Her husband had 7 wives.
Wow.
And she had an only child, which was my mom.
Right.
But she had to be the head mother of everybody else.
Yeah.
So she was forced to, and I want to use forced now, very guardedly, but she had no choice but to deal with all the other children.
Exactly.
In a manner that was fair. So I think that her growing up in a very diverse, or her being married into a very diverse, that is, several wives.
Right.
Diverse environment, right? So gave her the skills to be able to manage diversity, gave her the skills to be able to relate and engage. Because ironically, a number of those wives were actually, her cousins that came to visit her and my dad took the fancy to.
Right.
But that was those days. Those days, their attitudes and their liberality and their understanding and, the society requires that. But what I'm saying in essence is that she found herself in an environment of diversity.
Right.
She managed it in a manner that was fair and was just. And she ended up, taking a lot of credit for it. A number of other people wouldn't be able to manage or stomach diversity. A number of us are born with the mindset that everybody is like us.
Right.
And then when you grow into life and you discover, no, everybody is not like you, then it's either a shock. You can either manage it well, or you get, you get confused and you get all wired, you get all charged up.
I totally get you. It's very, I'm listening to you speak, and what it does is, what it did to me was bring back memories, because my father had 12 wives and 26 children, and that's how I learned how to get along with pretty much anybody and everybody. Now, this conversation is going to lead us, I can't help myself. Let's talk about PACT a little bit, because I'm not understanding. There's a whole lot, and I need you to explain it and break it down to the people, just like laymen. No big English words. Just, this is Moji's world. Break it down as simple as possible. What was the point of the PACT organization that you guys created? And are you still a member of PACT?
Well, let's put it this way. A lot of us that came out to be presidential aspirants had a lot of followers, mostly on social media.
Right.
And when a lot of us came out, a lot of people loved everybody. Sorry. A lot of people loved the people that they saw. They liked me, they liked Dorothy, they liked Joanne, they liked Shifty. And from the public, people said, look, why don't you guys get together?
Mm-hmm.
And even without the public telling us to get together, some of us know each other. So we spoke and we talked and we talked. So we, at some point in time, we got together on July the 18th. Then,
Right.
And we sat down together and we called the forum the Presidential Aspirant Coming Together.
Right.
PACT. Now, when we got together, I think some of us, you have, when people are meeting for the first time, you have all shades of people.
Right.
You have everybody with different tendencies, right? So, what I felt, personally, was that, okay, I brought two things on the table that day, and that's number one, that we're not good enough just by saying we're new.
Right.
I mean, being new is not an agenda. So we have to define what we stand for. And the second thing I brought to the table was that, look, even if we stood for, whatever we stood for in terms of ideology, if we can have a service charter that we can all sign up on and say that, look, whichever of us gets into government, we're going to, perform our services with this kind of integrity, with this and that and that. No, a service charter, standing service charter says that you'll perform in a particular way.
Right.
Those are what I brought to the table. But some people raised the issue of having a common candidate at some point. And there was a division between the group. Some people felt that you should have a common candidate now, and others, including myself, felt that, look, hang on, it's premature. Wait for the primaries, have a common candidate, then you can start discussing common candidate. In any case, for me, my party, which is COA Party,
Right.
Are already on a coalition platform, right?
Right.
And everyone, and I'm trying to get the ticket of my party, COA Party, to become the ambassador of my party and a potential candidate for the coalition, the larger coalition. And we said that, but at some point in time, there was a lot of young, eager, I would call them young, eager, slightly naive and slightly inexperienced, who insisted that we should have, a primaries before, a common candidate before the coalition. And when I tried to explain that, look, you have to have something in common before you have a common candidate.
Exactly.
You can't have a common candidate if you don't have something in common. So you need to forge what you need to have in common, and then you have a common candidate. So when I had this discussion with them, and they didn't agree, so I opted out of the pack in August 14th. That was August 14th, last month. And I haven't been on, because we had a common WhatsApp platform.
No.
So I extricated myself on that WhatsApp platform. So I didn't know when they were having this meeting and having this election. But certainly I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of it. I think there was another guy there called something Fagbenro, and I think Obi Okwejelishi, who was the umpire of today,
Right.
mistook my name for his own name.
Thank you. I almost fainted when I heard that name, Fagbenro. I almost fainted.
No. The primaries are coming up. I have my primaries in 3 weeks' time, so I got a lot of work to do now.
Oh, yes, you do. Talking about coalitions, yeah? If you were elected president today, president of Nigeria today, who would you nominate as your vice president?
Well, I will nominate someone who shares my vision. Who shares the vision that wants that Nigeria needs to work for everyone, and not just for a few.
Right.
I would nominate somebody who understands, the importance of the value of human beings and human rights.
Right.
I will also consider someone who appreciates how they can coordinate and manage, things like diversity and extract human responsibility. You want them to be responsible. You want people to take ownership of their own development agenda, And so you want somebody who can, encourage people and help people to take ownership. So I'll be looking at someone within that framework.
Right. Now,
and it could actually be any of us currently running.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
It could be any one of them.
Of all the, this is one of the most important questions to me, because I grew up in the days that I call Nigeria, because I don't know the new Nigeria. I grew up in the days where Nigeria meant royalty, it meant class, it meant couth, and not Jaguda. So, of all the presidents who have ruled Nigeria before you, who do you admire the most?
Yes. Well, military or civilian?
It doesn't matter.
Because,
It really doesn't matter because to me,
it doesn't matter.
they're all the same.
Well, okay. Well, you know, all of them bring significant things to the table. All of them are different. All of them have things to do.
Pick one.
Very articulate, he's a very humble guy.
Oh, God, pick one.
Yeah, you know, so I should pick one.
Pick one.
I should pick one. I'll pick, honestly, to be honest, I'll pick Yakubu Gawan.
Thank you. That's my guy too, because shuku to you. I haven't given you any shukus all day. Shuku to you, sir.
Yeah.
Very true. And why would you pick Yakubu Gawan?
I will pick Yakubu Gawan. He was head of state for 9 years. You know, he was, well, at some point in time, you could say that he was not as strict on certain corrupt persons, but he himself was not corrupt. But he was humble enough to, you know, his posts, particularly 10 years after he was head of state, the way he managed his defeat and came back and things like that. I mean, while he was president anyway,
Right.
He ruled with the kind of inclusive, open-handed, he was demonstrative of that.
Right.
And I think he had, he got into power as a very, very young man.
Right.
And and it was not, it wasn't something that he found the targeted. So
Exactly.
I think that in all of them, none of them have been tested the way Gawan has been tested.
So
it's very clear. Yeah.
So we have roughly about 10 minutes more on the show. I have to ask you what quote, because I'm one of those people that wakes up in the morning reading quotes, meditating, speaking affirmations. So what quote speaks to your heart and aligns with your principles and ideology the most?
What quote speaks to my mind and aligns with my ideology and principles? Well, I'll have to bring that from the Bible. And it has to be that the expectations of the poor shall not perish forever.
Amen. That's powerful.
The reason why yes, the expectations, I can't remember where it is in the Bible, but I came across it. I'm not very, very, very good at remembering things from the Bible.
You and I both. But as long as you walk the talk, we're good.
Yeah, but it says the expectations of the poor shall not perish forever. It means that nobody has to be poor forever. It means that every state is a passing state. It means there's an opportunity for development. It means that as a matter of fact, the entire purpose of our existence is development. You see? And it means that there's a deliberate expectation to what should happen, that what should be positive and good. We must expect. And when I came across it several years ago, it has driven me in terms of expectation. It's a small verse. It starts, with
Powerful.
rather humble.
Powerful verse.
Yes.
Powerful
but
verse.
for me, it's when we talk about being poor, it's not a question of how many dollars you have in your pocket. It's what you have access to and what you don't have access to.
Amen. Very true.
You see, why people are excluded is either because they have access to justice, they don't have access to health, they don't have access to security,
Very true.
they don't have access to education, right? They don't have access to the protection of their rights.
Yes.
They don't have even access to being heard. That is the definition of poverty.
Yes,
And so
indeed.
that's why I was enthralled, and I said that the expectations of the poor shall not perish forever.
Right. And
Right? And the expectations of anyone who's deprived is that he or she be emancipated.
one question that Moji, always ask everyone I've ever interviewed, from Sonny Ade to Femi Kuti, all of them. For me, I need to know, and I'm sure the audience out there, because we're going through a time of revolution against religion. People are becoming more spiritual. Where do you stand on the spectrum? Because religion and state
or
sometimes has to separate.
yeah, you see, religion is politics. Religion is politics.
Amen.
But spirituality is different. Spirituality is different. Right?
Right.
Anything that can be used can be abused.
Right.
If religion can be used, it can also be abused.
Very true.
My own attitude to everyone is that if you're a Christian, make sure you read and understand the Bible.
Exactly.
Don't let anybody tell you what it says.
Exactly.
You know, if you're a Muslim, make sure that nobody's just gorging you with stories. Read it yourself and understand what it says, and whatever you believe in, make sure you believe. That's why Yoruba, they have something they call la'akaye.
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 Understanding.
That means, yes, which means that when you read, you dissect to understand.
Exactly.
You dissect to understand.
Exactly.
That you are not throwing literature, right?
Very
Just
true.
because it's literature I expected to swallow. You need to interrogate it.
Yes.
And, you know, our problem with religion is that even those who are supposed adherents to religion, don't even interrogate it. The Almighty God didn't say you cannot reason. He says at a particular point, he says, come and reason with me.
Exactly.
Which means that if you have issues, you can ask. You can ask. If you're not convinced yet, just
ask
be
questions.
to yourself. And
I
at
hear
some
you.
point in time, you know, that is it.
So final question,
Yes.
right? Tell us a little bit about your family, your immediate family, and the composition. And you know, I know you're a musician. Well, we've been blasting your song, Alafia, which I think should be the national anthem of Nigeria, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, my family, you know, I'm married. This is my second wife. I've been married first and married again.
Right.
I'm married and separated and married again. My first wife is Dilly Fagbenro, you know. And I have three older kids, Ayo, Deji. I have Dikuli and I have Demola.
Fantastic.
They're, you know,
Fantastic.
age 35. Ayo is married. Dikuli is 28. Demola is 25. They live in Canada with their mom. And then my lovely wife, Lola Day, is here in Lagos with me. And we have two kids.
Fantastic.
Moyosore and Adiolua. Moyosore is the youngest. She's the only girl. And apparently she was elected head girl of her school.
Oh, wow.
I
Congratulations.
wish her dad has the same luck. Anyway, and then there's Adiolua. She lives in the Babcock University. Now, so that's it. But, you know what it is. We have extended families, my brothers and sisters.
Of course.
Then my mom is alive.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
8 years old in UCH.
She must be very
like
proud.
I told you, she used to. Oh yeah, she used to be. She's a radiographer, retired radiographer, superintendent radiographer in UCH.
Fantastic.
And she's very happy at what I'm doing. She is. If you ask me if my mom was a feminist, I would say yes, without a hesitation. You know, and she, you know, so she's there.
Do you have?
And that's who we are.
Sorry. Do you have last words you'd like to
what?
leave with the people? Because the whole point is, you know, I want, for you guys that are listening out there, Kowa Party, as far as I know, is the only party that had a female candidate in the history of Nigeria, as far as I know, way back then. So for me, I've been following them because I like parties that are very avant-garde, that are open, that are inclusive, and listen to the cry of the people. So do you, Shino, have last words that you want to leave us with?
Okay, let me just say that, you know, in Kowa Party we believe, number one, you mentioned the fact that we had a female presidential candidate. Now, Professor Shimaya, she ran as a presidential candidate. I mean, she was a good candidate when she ran with us. I mean, she ran that we're competitors now. But truth be told that the lady's not running like male, female, anything. She's just running like a candidate.
Exactly.
I totally respect her for that. And this is what Kowa Party is all about. My parting words is that, look, together we make a difference. You know, it's not about one person. And I think that what we need to do is to approach these elections with the kind of passion that we have for our country. I'm offering myself for president, Sina Fagbenro Byron. I also ask Nigerians to settle for best. Settle for best in terms of exactly what direction we're going and what we need to do. Coa Party is small, but we belong to a coalition, a very large coalition that allows Coa Party an opportunity to lead the way and be the voice.
When is the primary?
We will Coa Party on 29th of September, which is just in about a couple of weeks' time.
Fantastic, fantastic. I have to say thank you so very much for joining us on Moji's World.
Thank you
It's
very
been
much for the opportunity.
fun talking
Thank
to
you. Thank you.
We have to make sure that, you know, people know who you are, they know what you stand for, and one of the most important things that you stand for is inclusion, human rights, gender equality. You are saying that everybody should be included in whatever is going on in Nigeria, politics, you know, pretty much. Alafia is what we all want in Nigeria. And Alafia for non-Yoruba speaking people means peace. This is Moji Solar Percy saying thank you to all of you guys that joined us. And thank you again, Byron, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Moji. God bless. Thank
And
you very much.
same
Thank
to you and yours. Yes, sir. I love the song. Anyways, you guys, the song is Alafia by Byron Fagbenro. Additional Fagbenro Byron. You need to go on YouTube. You need to look him up. All right. Yeah, baby. I love music. It's everything, isn't it? Yeah, baby. Well, you guys have to go and do your homework. Find him, vote for him, make sure he gets into the primary, make sure that you investigate, you research whoever you're going to support. Don't just support people because they're popular on Facebook. Look at their resume, look at what they've done, because Nigeria is at the cusp at the moment that if we go to the left and we make the wrong turn, Nigeria is going to end up worse than India. We already are considered the poorest nation in the world. I don't know. I know we are very intelligent people. If he wins the primary, my family will be hosting him in Houston. So I need you guys to make sure that you get the word out there that Sina Fagbenro Byron is running for the Oval Office in Nigeria and is planning on including everybody. Everybody. We're talking about single parents, we're talking about single mothers, we're talking about, elders, we're talking about young people, we're talking about he's going to be allowing everybody to come to the table with their ideas and not just the youth. Because as we know, youth means, in the dictionary, not me, I don't speak it, in Moji's world, we talk about the truth, the truth, right? You guys ready? The youth means between adolescence, right? And adulthood. I don't even want them running my company, let alone a whole country. So let's all come together and do the right things and vote in the person that we know will take Nigeria where we need to be and further. Health, education, security, agriculture. This is what we are looking for in Nigeria. This is Moji Solo Wilson saying thank you for joining us. Share the video. Namaste.
Let's live in peace, live in peace, live in peace, Everybody's looking for the answers to the problems of the world we face today. Oh, how many can face tomorrow? What miracle can bring back yesterday? Politicians shaking hands and smiling. Generations keep on rising every day. While children in the streets keep on dying when they should be singing. All I feel.